Page 52, Liebestraum. This is a theme from Liebestraum number 3 by Liszt. It's the famous one everybody thinks about when you say Liebestraum. You can hear all kinds of recordings of this, but I encourage you to listen to several different ones because they interpret it differently, and that to me is the fascinating part of music. You can play it by feel, you play it differently. Let's look it over. Pages 52 and 53, treble and bass clef, 3/4 time, 1 sharp. We're in the key of G major. I'll just save you the looking. G major, okay. You got first and second endings on page 55, and we have a DS all fine at the bottom of page 55. This is new. I'll talk about that when we get to the roadmap thing. One hand at a time, let's make sure we got the fingering and the notes and the rhythms. I don't think the rhythms are a problem. That's pretty straightforward. You're coming in on beat 3, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1. Remember, a dotted half note's the same as 3 quarter notes, and then 4th finger there for the quarter note. That's because we need 5th finger for a C coming up. Okay, let's go over to page 55. Let's take the second ending. It's the last couple of measures there in the second line. Here, and then when you come up to do the B and the G, do a 2/5 here. Don't those two measures taken together, really what this is a G chord in extended position. We're not using the D. We don't have to use all the notes in the chord, but that's it. So that's the fingering I want to use. So you don't need to move the hand around, just here and then reach up to here, 2/5. Here, not 1/5. Now measure 27, you're here. 1, 2, 3, and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3. You just cross over for one note. And measure 31. 1 and 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Now this is okay here, they're both black keys. Even with big fat fingers, you can do this one. Here, and then just come out here for the D natural. Just slide out here. And then you reach down, and we'll talk about that later. Just reach down. You can lift up if you have to. That's okay, because we want to connect this and this together. But we can lift up to go on, because it's a new phrase. Left hand broken chords. Just got to watch out because the accidentals, the chord may not be quite what you think it is. There's some interesting harmonies in here. So then we have an F sharp. If you can't do that, you got to do that. Otherwise, just do that. And then here, see an A now, and then measure 5, E, G sharp, D. They don't need the natural sign, but you just had a D sharp in the previous measure, so they're being clear. It's a D natural. And then come reach down, C sharp. So watch out on these chords because they keep changing. They're changing around. Put the hands together here. And here, again, we're just trying to get the hands to work together, so don't worry about hesitating. Now here, these are together. Then here, here. Then the here. All of these go together, I guess. You put the hands together. Then go back over a few, whatever times, and slowly get rid of the hesitation. So it is a steady beat all the way through. No hesitations. So all these chords, you're able to make these chords evenly. It's no hesitations at all. And eventually, it'd be nice to even get it where you don't have to look at the keyboard. You can feel moving around the keyboard a little bit. You'll get a feel for these distances. You have to look at first. But that's the goal. Overall goal would be to play this for the most part without looking at the keyboard. There's a lot of feeling going on in music. Now articulation, this is smooth. You lift up in the phrase. Lift up. Just lift up in the right hand between the phrases, and the left hand you connect it all. So even though you're lifting up the right hand, you're connecting the left. Well, now when you get to measure 12, you're here. You're starting a new phrase. I suggest go ahead and lift up both hands here so we get silence total. Here, so that makes the phrase stand out more. Because you can do that, and you can connect those, but we want to make sure it's clear, so just lift up both hands so it's a new phrase for sure. Dynamics, go to the melody, duh. Whatever you think soft is, this left hand has to be very soft. In the background. You get to the bottom of page 52 on measure 17, last measure. You're going to start going up, crescendo, to measure 19 where you go up to moderately loud. Now that arrow, that hairpin, this is how they do it when it doesn't fit on one line or one page. The hairpin starts on measure 17, the arrow, and it continues on measure 18 because you see the arrow, but the lines are not together at the beginning. That shows you it started somewhere else. And that's it. It started on measure 17 and you're continually getting soft, louder, moderately loud up there. So you gradually get louder up to there. Left hand's got to stay in the back. Same thing at the end of that line on measure 21. The arrow starts coming down, but the lines don't come together. Well, that means we're not done. Well, on measure 22, you got more arrow. Now the arrow on measure 22, the lines start further apart than where they ended. Doesn't matter. The point is, it's a continuation of the same arrow. So you just keep diminuendo, decrescendo here. The whole thing is like a 2 measure diminuendo in there. It doesn't matter how far apart the lines are. Either it's together or they're apart. That's it. So you put in the dynamics. At the bottom, you're soft here, measure 27. And then measure 31, you're starting that soft, a little louder, a little louder. So that's like up to moderately loud to loud almost. I think moderately loud is probably loud enough. Measure 31, a little louder. So there I just kind of crescendo one measure at a time. It's not every note, it's just you spread it out. And then for the last measure, you're still loud here, moderately loud, and then you're soft. For that D, the last note, that's soft. So, and the left hand's very soft. There's a poco retardando there too, so you slow down a little bit. You're just lingering. They don't give you an odd tempo. Maybe you haven't had that term yet, I don't know. But when you play the D, that's back on your regular tempo. So it's ba-da. Now the DS all fine, let's talk about that. We've had DC all fine. DC means go back to the beginning. Now, of the piece. Now, it gets tricky. You're dealing with exceptions. Don't bother me with exceptions right now. Just DC means go back to the beginning. DS means go back to the sign. They tell you at the top of 52, it's abbreviations for more Italian words. There, you got it. There, the dal segno. Okay. Go back to the sign. Then you got to go find the sign. The sign is a weird looking fancy S thing. Here it is at measure 13 at the bottom of page 52. So you're going to go from the bottom of page 53 to the last line on page 52. Here. Just the beat is steady. Steady. So forth. The first and second ending, let's look at that. Because if you look at the first ending, now these endings are 2 measures long, but as I said before, it doesn't matter how many measures an ending is, whatever. So these are 2 measures long, and you have a double bar, it means you're going into a new section. But there's no repeat sign. See, I said before, endings don't have to have a repeat sign. Well, when there's no repeat sign, it means you keep going. But you don't play the other endings. There could be more endings than this. You skip the other endings. We get to those later. That's why they're endings. you go on past them. But here, that would be measure 27. They're telling you to the next strain, which is the next line, measure 27. I'm telling you, just skip all the other endings and keep going, because that's kind of universal. So you're going to go from the end of the first ending here, and that's second finger, but on to measure 27. And you're changing fingers on this repeated G to get you in position, because you played the G in the first ending with third finger, and then they want second finger, and then when you go to measure 27, it's first finger. This way you're in position. That's fine. The point is you just keep going and the beat is steady. So start at measure 22 and it's here. And then go on to measure 27. And the beat is a steady beat all the way through. Now, a little bit about fingering. I mean, I change fingerings constantly in these books. They're different fingering styles. Let's look at the last line on page 52. You're here, and then suddenly they want a second finger. Well, you got several B's. You can change fingers on repeated notes. We do it all the time. So I can do a 5, 4, 3, and now I'm ready for 2. It's easier than going from 5 to 2, which you need to be able to do. But my point is you don't have to. There's different fingering styles. It's not that one is right and one's wrong. It's just there's different fingering styles. That's all. Now they've added pedal. And this piece really needs pedal. You want the overtones, so we want to connect this a lot, quite a bit. We can't connect repeated notes on a piano, so we need pedal. Actually, there is a way to do it on certain pianos at certain times, but it's a rather tricky technique, and so I don't even teach that technique. Just use pedal if you want to connect repeated notes. It's like connecting chords. We've done that before. Well, yeah, same thing here. It's going to be overlap or syncopated pedal, where the notes go down first and then the pedal. And they're not teaching you, they haven't taught you the change pedal. I've already mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to say it again because we need it in this piece. I'd like you to do the piece close to correct, and so we have to do change pedal here. So at the beginning, I don't pedal the pickup note, and then I pedal after the play these, leave it down, and then on the next measure, I'm going to play the notes and then lift the pedal up and right back down. Yeah, again. So the pedal overlaps the notes just a little bit, but it's just a little bit. The ear doesn't mind, and it makes sure we have sound all the time. If you try to change the pedal right when you play the notes, you're going to get it wrong a lot, and you're going to end up with a choppy sound sometimes. So this overlapping pedal, it's the most common kind of pedaling used, and I highly recommend it. Again. We lose the phrasing, but you still do the phrasing in the hand. You want to feel the phrasing whether you hear it or not. But when I get to measure 12 here, I'm lifting the pedal up here, so I do feel I can hear it. Lift it up with the hand, so there's a little silence. I'm not pedaling beat 3. I didn't pedal at the beginning, that pickup. I don't need to pedal this pickup either. So start with measure 9. The way the pedaling is done pretty much throughout. Now when you get to the first ending there on page 53, you don't need to pedal that pickup note, and we don't need to connect that G. It's nice to have a little bit of silence, but go ahead and pedal afterward. So to start on measure 22 and take the first ending, it's here. I would like to hear at the end of page 53, I'm going to lift up on the third beat, so I don't need the pedal. I can connect this, but I'm going to lift up here. And I don't need to pedal that pickup beat again. Even if I'm playing a note in the left hand, I still don't need it. So it's... And then we go back and go on. That's my suggestion on the pedaling. Really, it's up to you and your ears and what you like to hear. Just don't get lazy and say, I'm just going to pedal it and not worry about it. Ugh. I think a lot of people do that. They're not really listening to what they're doing. Speed, gentle. And again, you listen to different recordings of this, it'll be at different speeds. I did a recording on my other channel, but I think it's better if you go listen to the professionals. They play it better than I do. And listen to several of them, and they'll play it at different speeds. Yeah. Now, I like to keep the melody fairly clean. So it's like on the second line on page 52. Here. See, we changed it on each measure to help keep the melody clean because the harmony didn't change. But when I get from the last two measures, measure 7 and 8 here, I'm going to change the pedal because I want to keep I don't want both of those notes. So I'm going to change the pedal on measure 8. To keep the melody clean. And anywhere else the melody changes like that, I'm going to change the pedal with it. Now, on the second line on page 53, if you play this G in the first ending with third finger, that's fine. But if you play the G in the second ending with third finger, you need to change fingers. So while you're holding it down, put the thumb on it. So here, it's called a finger substitution. We just substituted one finger for another. Or you just play it with thumb to begin with. It's your choice what you do. Because we want to be in position now to go ahead and use 2-5, and we want to connect it with the hands. Here, so we need thumb here. I like to play this with you slowly. Let's check all the notes and the rhythms. Not going to do any dynamics. We're going to do the DCL, Fine, and all that though. So I'll give us 2 counts because we come in on beat 3. So I'm going to go ready, go, and then we go. I'm going to pedal it as I suggested, I think. I keep changing my mind on the pedaling because I keep experimenting. Ready, go. ending.